What's going on, everyone? Today's video we're going to be focusing on demonstrating you the 3 out of the 9 entries we do here in Bias Tres Manos, or rather my specific curriculum that I teach at Union Martial Arts. These are all going to be empty hand drills, and we want to break down kind of the fine lines of when you apply it versus when you train it, and kind of just show you the different methods of entering. So our entries are generally off of a jab cross or just a cross, so we're just going to illustrate using that cross in today's video. But we're going to do entries 1, 6, and 9. So entry 1 is going to be a simple parrying entry. Parrying just means you're redirecting your opponent's force and you're creating an opportunity to intercept. Entry 6 is going to be what we call a shielding entry. So we're going to use a technique that we refer to as a shield to brace for the strike and then work off of that. And then finally, our entry 9 is going to be what we call a split entry, which is where we're neither on the outside or the inside, but we're half and half. And from there, our entry 9 specifically is done in a manner which allows us to loop it back and show the flexibility and the progressive system of our entries. So when I'm working with my partner off the cross, now when we're training, of course, as well as in tutorial videos and in compliancy and making sure that we are safe when we're training, my partner is going to punch fairly slowly, and he's going to let me get every step of the way. Before I can pressure test and before I can start to alter to see if this is actually going to really work, I need to know what I'm trying to do. So in entry 1, I'm going to go a little bit to the outside, and I'm going to parry the punch out underneath. So when the punch comes, I'm parrying it underneath, and I'm going to roll that essentially to the point where it ends up on the top of my wrist. As it's doing that, I'm going to step in and I'm going to throw an elbow. And this elbow is not meant to knock out my partner. It's meant to distract. So I'm throwing this so his attention comes here. So now I can look to lock up and clamp this arm. So then I won't allow him to bend that arm and bring it back and potentially strike me again. And then from here, I start to lock it up. I rotate the shoulder down into a knee. Boom. And then from here, we go into takedowns. So the idea when it comes to flowing and entry, mind you, all of these go into what we call the Kali flow. It's a series of strikes to take the attention away from what I actually want to do. When the punch is coming, I'm taking my elbow so that I can work my left hand without him realizing. Because if we just looked at my left hand and I didn't do anything, he's going to pull his hand right back, he's going to punch me again. Right? So I distract him by giving him something to worry about, and it's his own self-preservation. As I come up here, I jam my forearm into his neck, and I kind of pull his arm to make him feel uncomfortable so I can get the back of his elbow. And then once I get all that, I'm going to rotate his shoulder, but he'll be preoccupied with my knee. And so, just touching base on entry 1, now we talk about the intent. So I have to be able to adapt and be flexible with my entry 1, depending on how well I can analyze my opponent. For instance, if my partner Guru Sam was in a boxing stance, and he was giving me the small cues like, oh, he's going to throw the cross now. Oh, he has a little bit of stand-up skill. I can't treat him like someone who doesn't know how to fight. So obviously the pace that I just trained it at, the way that I displayed it, can't be done to this person. But having that structure, I have something to follow. So I might skip a couple steps. It might get a little bit more messy. I might change the actual way I do it, but it's still going to relatively be an entry 1. So for example, instead of me following all the way through on the parry, if I see that punch and it's really much more sharp and really kind of more boxing oriented, I'm going to look to just hack it down. And I'm just going to hit it strike for strike. And that's going to allow me to drop his line, and now I can come in with an elbow. And whether I'm able to get this all the way around and smooth, I have an idea where I can shoot my hand for an underhook and then lock it in. Boom, throw in my knee. This is what we call a half arm bar. And things can change. The point what I'm trying to get at, guys, is that you have to understand the intent of your opponent and the intent in which you're trying to apply these techniques. There's so many different perspectives on self-defense, on the way you should be defending yourself, and do this technique, do that technique. This is for art, this is for combatives. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. What I am trying to tell you is that every technique has some good in it. They're all applicable. It's a matter of making it work for this specific situation, for this specific person. And that's where the true mastery in applying yourself is, regardless if you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kali, Karate, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, you name it. Every art has good in it. Every art is applicable. It's just who do you apply it to and how do you do it. Alright, so we're going to flip here so you guys can see what the next entry is going to look like. Entry 6 is what we call an inside shield. So this is done more like a hook, whether it's more of a trained hook or it's more of a haymaker. Both of them are able to be applied depending on how close I am. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's more of a wide hook. My shield is my arm bending, and I'm tucking my ear into my bicep. I'm keeping it nice and tight so there's no distance in between my elbow and my temple so my head can't get rocked. And basically I'm bracing the strike and I'm going inside here. Okay, so I'm trying to protect my head. I'm trying to absorb just enough so that I can flow. So from this position, my left hand will reach up, will wrap around. I go from an overhook, and I'm going to shoot it across his body. And as I do this, I'm going to do what we call zoning away. I'm going to take my body away and break my partner's base like this. So now I've trapped his hand inside, and then from here, I can use that to set up what we call a reverse sweep or a seatbelt throw or an asotogari, depending on what you're looking at. So entry 6 is more of a bracing. So when we think about shields, shield's primary goal is to defend. Can there be offensive uses? Yes. So if I have the timing, if I see this one is a little bit less stiff, if it's just kind of just throwing it out there, if I have the timing, I might be able to come up, feed it in, and hit inside the bicep or hit at the elbow. And then from there, I can flow into the same process. I can change that hip from going into the arm to going up into the head, hit him here, and then from here maybe I detach myself completely and go straight into striking back at him. Again, it's the intent. What am I trying to do? Am I willing to disregard my pride and my ego that I don't need to follow my entry all the way to the end, but it is a means of structure where I can rely on it in case I can't think of something to do and my instinct is going to kick in. Right? So finally, guys, my entry number 9 that I teach here is what we call split entry, and that's where one hand is in and one hand is out. So off of a more straight punch, I'm going to parry it over my right shoulder. This is a little bit more boxing oriented, so I can kind of slip it at the same time. But I'm going to consume the space here with my right hand, and I would either go for a sundat or an eye jab, or just simply hit the head. Boom. And then I'm going to crash him in by going with a natural bend of his elbow, and I'm going to push his arm and hit with my forearm here. So once I cause that collapse, I rotate around. If by chance there is no response here, I flow exactly the way I would for, say, an entry 1. If I do get a response, and sometimes I do want it, I get that grab here, I pull it back, I isolate the left arm, and I'm going to pull it in, rotate underneath to release the grip, and then I'm going to shoot for the left side. And essentially we use entry 9 as a way to transfer all of our entries 1 through 9 from the right hand to the left hand. So it's very important to be ambidextrous. It's very important to be able to adapt yourself. You don't know if your opponent's going to hit you with the left hand. If they're a southpaw, you can't tell if they're going to hit you with the right hand. But you can start to analyze and see, you kind of have the general idea based off their stance, based off small things they do, small tendencies. But also at the same time, you want to prepare yourself for anything, and that's why it's very important to train it on the left side as well as the right side. So there it is, guys. Those are 3 entries. There are a bunch more, and they should be up here somewhere. If not, you'll definitely see them on FMA Concepts at some point. So if you guys don't know, FMA Concepts is our online tutorial site where we post very, very intricate, detailed tutorials on certain techniques. So make sure you guys check those out. The link will be in the description box. And there is a discount code for you guys to use at this very moment. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy the video. And until next time, catch you guys there.